This is Thelonious Monk with Round Midnight. My name is James Inciardi, and today we're going to be talking about another presentation on Bowman and Deal's Four Frames. I really like this song a lot, despite my wife's harsh opinion that it sounds like we're starting a Mr. Rogers episode. Anyway, let's get back to the symbolism frame. Let's get to it now. So here are my objectives. By the time you've watched this presentation, you should be able to give an example of how heroes and myths are used in the workplace, and how heroes and myths can benefit your workplace and how they can be a detriment. I decided to put a wrestler on the slide here. I'm going to get back to wrestlers in a little bit, but first, let's start with 5 suppositions of the symbolic frame. And who did this? How did this happen? This was supposed to be a symbol of the male and female restrooms. We're talking about symbols, but apparently my wife got into my PowerPoint and started messing with it. Haha, very funny. Anyway, here are 5 suppositions of the symbolic frame. Number 1, what's most important is not what happens, but what it means. Number 2, activity and learning are loosely coupled. Events and actions have multiple interpretations as people experience situations differently. 3, in the face of uncertainty and ambiguity, symbols rise to help people resolve confusion, find direction, and anchor faith and hope. 4, events and processes are often more important than what they express or signal than for their content, intent, or outcomes. Their emblematic form weaves a tapestry of secular myths, heroes and heroines, rituals, ceremonies, and stories to help people find purpose and passion. And number 5, culture forms the superglue that bonds an organization, unites people, and helps an enterprise to accomplish desired ends. So as you see, I decided to decorate my slide with some symbols. There's the male-female restroom slide symbol that my wife messed with. A dove symbolizing peace. On the top is the rainbow flag, and here's an interesting little factoid. The rainbow flag can be a symbol of LBG rights, but it can also be a symbol of racism. Yes, apparently they're trying to adopt the rainbow flag as a symbol of racism. The meaning there is that all colors should be separate. I didn't say I agreed with it, that's just what I read. Then there's the American flag, which can be a symbol of a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And then there's the symbol of the Pastafarians. The Pastafarians, that's an actual religion, and their symbol is the flying spaghetti monster. You can tell a Pastafarian because in their driver's license picture, they're supposed to wear a pasta colander on their head. I'm not making that up, it's an actual religion. Anyway, let's get back to wrestlers. A myth is a common dream, said the psychoanalyst Carl Jung. For our purposes, they are a story behind a story. Wrestlers like to boast that wrestling is the oldest sport in existence. Here we see a picture of the very first wrestling match ever recorded, when Jacob wrestled the Archangel. Whether you believe the story is true or not, it doesn't really matter. It's not the point. Every athlete likes to brag about how their sport is best. This myth is a favorite among wrestlers because it shows that, yeah, the other athletes in other sports get paid better or they might get more glory, but we've got the oldest sport in existence. Wrestlers do. It also illustrates how a mortal man can wrestle against any obstacle in the pursuit of a goal that's greater than themselves and wrestle against even a god. I like this picture a lot. Look at how Jacob is fighting so hard, his muscles bulging, and the Archangel just looks bored, like, yeah, okay, Jacob, you done yet? No, all right, how much longer are we going to do this? Anyway, this is a myth that wrestlers like to use as an example of why they're proud of their sport. But what about healthcare? What myths exist in healthcare? Well, I know a good one, and it has to do with Memorial Medical Center in New Orleans, Louisiana, in 2005. Before Katrina made landfall, the Category 5 hurricane was bearing down on the city, and everyone who could be moved from Memorial Medical Center to other hospitals was being moved. Among the patients being moved was a premature child on a high-frequency ventilator. Now, this tiny patient could only be moved by helicopter because an ambulance transport would have taken too long. There was a helipad on top of Memorial Medical Center, but it had not been cleared for helicopter landings in almost 20 years. With no other options, the helicopter pilots took the chance. They landed on this decrepit old helipad. They were really not sure if it would hold the weight of the helicopter, but luckily it did. So this is an actual picture of that helipad right here on the slide. So then a nurse with his newborn child cradled in his arms needed a high-frequency oscillator, but of course they couldn't get that on the helicopter. So he bagged the patient as best he could, squeezing the bag as rapidly as he could in an effort to mimic a high-frequency oscillator. And this little patient was flown safely to another hospital 20 minutes away and survived. So this is the kind of myth that gives healthcare personnel the reputation they enjoy. We will put our patients first. In their most vulnerable hours, we are responsible for them, and we're willing to go through any length to ensure that their safety and survival happen. If you ever want to read this story, by the way, I recommend 5 Days at Memorial by Sherry Fink. It's a really, really good book. Organizations can become symbols of excellence. As a native of Northern California, UCSF was a local hospital that was known for being the best. You might hear, oh, that doctor is really good, he works at UCSF. Or, oh, this patient was really sick, so we transported him to UCSF. This is how they do it at UCSF. And if it's good enough for UCSF, then it's good enough for this Mickey Mouse hospital. Well, you see how organizations can become symbols too, just that way. My hospital does that too. I work at the VA hospital in Aurora, Colorado. Except the two hospitals we compare ourselves to are the Colorado State University and Denver Health, which is the county medical center. Therapists here are always comparing our hospital to those hospitals. Now, this could be good or bad. On one hand, it can be an inspiration. It can make therapists dream that our hospital can achieve that same greatness. Like we can do everything that UC can do. Unfortunately, I have to say it's not really having that effect. It's demoralizing, actually. Makes us feel like a minor league team. Like no matter how good we do, UC could have always done it better. And this is especially true when somebody makes a mistake. For example, one time I was working at a hospital and the patient had a problem. The nurse or the doctor should have caught it, but didn't, and the patient had a very bad outcome. And, when things like that happen, it makes me feel like I'm working for a hospital that's professionally questionable, ethically dubious. And I think that all the therapists, when I was working at that hospital, kind of thought the same thing. If this patient had gone to a better hospital, he might still be alive right now. But I also think that to us, reaching those heights is a goal that is just out of reach and is just never going to happen, sadly. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at the phone number or the email address there on the slide. Thank you very much.